Today we're honoring a police officer who was instrumental in the de-escalation of a highly volatile situation, and we hear about situations like this on a fairly regular basis when police officers show up, as they did yesterday, and had two of our officers attacked. We know it's a dangerous job, and these situations can be highly volatile on a regular basis. But APD Officer Matthew Reeder was a stabilizing force in preventing harm to others when a man possessing a gun threatened suicide. This past August, Sergeant Tom Henderson, Officer Keith Sheely, is it Sheely or Shelley? Sheely. And Officer Matthew Reeder were dispatched to a disturbance and were informed that an armed man was threatening to kill himself. The man's daughter notified dispatch that her father had made similar threats in the past. This time was different, however, because he obtained a gun and was outside her apartment yelling and behaving erratically. When Sergeant Henderson, Officer Sheely, and Officer Reeder arrived on scene, their first step was to establish a perimeter. Officer Reeder then began relaying verbal commands to the subject, at which time the subject placed the gun in his own mouth. Officer Reeder left his position to cover to communicate with the upset individual in an attempt to calm him down. The man was growing increasingly angry, and he shouted at the police officers to leave. At that point, Officer Reeder found minimal concealment by a tree nearby. As additional officers arrived on scene, Officer Reeder continued talking with the individual, building a rapport and earning his trust. Imagine at the same time this gentleman has a gun in his mouth. After talking with the man for hours, Officer Reeder was finally able to convince him to lay down his weapon and surrender to the officers. The 3-hour negotiation obviously had the potential to turn deadly, but Officer Reeder's perseverance and calm demeanor helped bring stability to a tense and a dangerous situation. I would love to tell you that that is an unusual thing for our officers to run into. It's not. We just want to say thanks, and I'm going to have Chief Banks say a few things about Officer Reeder and about some of the instances that these ladies and gentlemen run into every day. So, Chief Banks.
Thank you, Mayor. Appreciate it.
Come on, man.
You know, these are one of those instances that you don't know how this call is going to turn out. And you hear about life-saving awards or firefighters or police officers saving the lives of others, where they're having heart attacks and car accidents, so on and so forth. But when you look at this incident, you see a subject that's in crisis, that has a gun in his mouth, and he's ready to take his own life. And you have this professional officer, and you look at him today, and you can tell, just looking at him, how professional he is and how much he takes this job very serious. He stood out there for hours upon hours just talking this gentleman down and saving this man's life, getting him out of that crisis mode. And these are the things that officers deal with on a day in, day out basis. They get to calls and they don't know they don't know what's going to happen. They don't know what they're walking into in most of these cases. But when they get there, they assess the situation, they know what's going on, training kicks in, and they do the right thing. And in this case, we're very fortunate that we have another subject from our community whose life was saved thanks to the efforts of Officer Reeder. So with that, I appreciate your professionalism, appreciate your willingness to come out and work and put your life on the line for our community day in and day out. Good job. Congratulations.
And I just want to echo a couple things Chief said. People a lot of times think that when the police show up, they're just the enforcer, that they're just to be in an enforcement role. But in this case, you saved a man's life who was putting himself and his family and the community in harm's way. But that day, I hope the individual understands that you did good things on his behalf, and so we have a Friday's Heroes coin that we have commissioned for this purpose, and we just want to thank you for your commitment to the department and to the community, and thanks for doing what you do every day, and be safe out there.
Thanks, sir.
Thanks a lot. Our employee of the week is Tammy Young. Come on over this way. Yeah, either way. Tammy Young with the Family and Community Services Department. She's an employee that always goes the extra mile for her clients. And Tammy Young, as this week's Employee of the Week, has worked for the City of Albuquerque for 24 years and currently holds the position of Community Services Specialist 2 at the John Marshall Health and Social Service Center. In this position, Tammy helps families and individuals in obtaining a number of services, including rent and utility assistance, food boxes, clothing, diapers, various other essentials. And if the center, John Marshall, among others, can't accommodate the needs of our community, then our community can't thrive. And particularly if they cannot accommodate their needs, Tammy, in her case, meets with the individuals and makes referrals to outside agencies. And that's critical because we have a lot of great services that are available to the community and those who need a helping hand, but sometimes connecting individuals with those services isn't as easy as you'd think it would be. And so Tammy does a great job. She also does a daily ordering from Roadrunner Food Bank, and she organizes a program that feeds up to 150 families every single month. Helping people comes very naturally to Tammy, and it's an integral part of her job description, but she does it, and she goes above and beyond, let's just say it that way, the standard expectations, and she does it on a daily basis. Tammy steps up in a variety of ways, including coming to the aid of those who are experiencing abuse and are at their most vulnerable. In this past year, Tammy did not hesitate to assist a pregnant woman at the center whose boyfriend was threatening her and being verbally abusive. She approached the woman, giving her comfort and staying by her side until APD arrived and arrested the hostile man. Just months later, Tammy noticed a gentleman having difficulty walking as he exited the John Marshall building. It was obvious to Tammy that he was experiencing a medical problem, and she asked him to come inside of the center, where she waited with him until an ambulance arrived. It was later determined that the gentleman had suffered a mild heart attack, and it is likely that Tammy's intervention resulted in a much better medical outcome for this individual. She's someone who's very respected by her coworkers, which is a testament to her hard work and her spirit of generosity. And her charitable nature and her selfless character make her an excellent employee and an asset to the city of Albuquerque and to those that we serve. With that, I'll have Doug Chaplin, who's our new Director of Family and Community, come up and say a few words.
Thank you, Mayor.
You bet.
I would just simply like to thank Tammy for everything that you do on a daily basis. Tammy's on the front line of our department in delivering services to the community, and she deals with our most vulnerable people when they're just right on that edge of being housed or not housed, whether they need food or they need clothing or they need a little bit of a rental assistance. Tammy and Aaron are actually some folks that get the call and get to intervene on our behalf, and we're just proud of the work that you do, and I want to thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks. Who do you have with you, Tammy?
This is my sister, Teresa Carson,
Yeah?
and my coworker, Aaron Loggins.
Well, nice to see you as well. So what we do is we have an Employee of the Week mug that we give to our Employees of the Week, and we also have a certificate for Employee of the Week. I can't seem to get this thing open here. Employee of the Week certificate, and also a letter for your personnel file. But I can tell you a lot of great work goes on at John Marshall, and out there in our community there's a lot of need. Cities around the country, and I talk to mayors all over the country about this idea that in urban areas across the nation, there's just a lot of folks that need a hand. And the fact that you're out there every day doing that is really a testament to you and your heart and your spirit. So I want to thank you very much.
Thank you.
The community is grateful for your services.
Thank you.